Hey everyone, welcome to Beyond the Gates. I'm Alessio, and I'm so excited to have you here. If you love Beyond the Gates, then you're in the right place. Make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss a video. Alright, let's dive right in. On Beyond the Gates, Bill greeted his daughters at the country club banquet room. Chelsea appeared uneasy, but she added that she was still adjusting to being around people again. Naomi was astonished to hear Bill mention that he intended to make family dinners a regular affair, and she worried how Dani would react if she was not invited. Chelsea was surprised by a staff member and said that she was still always on guard. However, she learned she couldn't be a recluse and liked the rotating door of Dupree's, who checked in on her. Naomi and Bill agreed that Chelsea's reactions were typical, but it was still heartbreaking to see her struggle. The conversation shifted to Dani, and Bill stated that he had sat with Naomi's words regarding Dani perhaps misinterpreting their reconnection as romantic. He added that he had reconfirmed his boundaries with his ex, even if it was at Haley's request. Doug saw Bill with his daughters at another table with Vanessa and reflected on how he could dispel Randy's fear that Bill couldn't be trusted to assist put Joey in jail. Vanessa mentioned that now that Doug was no longer working at the hospital, they had more time for dinners out. Doug offered that she retire as well, but she refused, stating quietly that she couldn't simply tell Joey that she was no longer going to launder money for him. That didn't stop you from telling him you're not sleeping with him anymore, Doug grumbled. Vanessa stated that she and Doug needed to be wise about things, to which Doug cryptically responded that he completely agreed. He reminded Vanessa of a romantic trip they had taken to the Greek islands before their children were born. Vanessa was equally passionate about the trip, but sensed Doug's desire to make it again and told him she couldn't leave. Vanessa suggested they try around the holidays, but Doug pointed out that their children, Deanna and Danelle, would be home then. Doug wanted to set aside 3 weeks to be alone with Vanessa somewhere. Randy texted Doug, asking him to call. Vanessa noticed. Doug would only tell that Randy didn't want Joey to find out where he was, and Vanessa insisted that Joey never hear it from her. Doug wished Vanessa was as protective of them as Randy was, and he became furious when Vanessa realized he had gotten them into their problem. Doug excused himself from the table to call Randy. Vanessa and Bill exchanged glances. Kat arrived, having been texted by Chelsea. Bill greeted his daughter's cousin and complimented the concept of an online Chelsea Cat launch. Despite Kat's assurance that she may leave at any point if she became uncomfortable, Chelsea felt confident in her ability to manage the event. Naomi and Bill had to depart, and Chelsea wanted to know everything about Kat's night with Tomás. In fact, Chelsea was surprised that the two weren't together at the time. "Girl, it was a catastrophe," Kat lamented. Chelsea listened as Kat told how she had reconciled with Tomás and how everything seemed perfect, until her body refused to sync with her feelings and thoughts. Kat said that Tomás had described her as broken, and that in retribution, she had informed him he was horrible in bed. Chelsea believed that Tomás was merely trying to assist Kat figure out what she enjoyed because she was new to sex, and that Kat had overreacted. Kat expected sex to be more natural, and she found the thought of discussing the details unpleasant. Chemistry gets you into the bedroom, but communication gets you to an orgasm, Chelsea remarked wisely. She went on to say that Kat was placing too much pressure on herself and Tomás, but Kat believed that the true pressure was society's expectation that a relationship was doomed if first-time sex was not mind-blowing. "If I don't get this right," Kat moaned, "he's gonna leave me for someone who knows what the hell they're doing." Chelsea suspected that Kat felt judged every time she was with Tomás, which was why her body couldn't relax into lovemaking. Was the judgment coming from him or her? Chelsea wanted to know. In the lobby, Bill noticed Doug kiss Vanessa on the cheek before leaving. After receiving a seductive text from Joey, Bill alarmed her by revealing that she had no idea what a perilous game she was playing. Vanessa decided it was none of Bill's concern and departed. In Las Vegas, Andre dragged Dani into a gauzy, glittering pink church. Dani, chuckling and inebriated, didn't recognize where she was and said the place smelled like discount perfume and questionable life choices. When a sequined attendant approached and realized that both Andre and Dani were drunk, Dani stated, "We're just here for the picture." causing Andre to pull Dani aside and advise them to take advantage of their surroundings. Dani seemed to understand what Andre was asking, and when he suggested they let fate decide their next step, she handed him a coin to flip. The coin landed heads, indicating that Dani and Andre will marry. Dani requested a best 2 out of 3, but Andre announced that the cosmos had spoken and booked the Sammy swinging wedding special, citing his childhood desire to dress up as Sammy Davis, Jr. for Halloween. The attendant stated that Sammy had turned off the clock an hour prior when Anita strolled in and pretended that she could do the honors. However, it was a lisping Anita Williams imposter. Dani was awed. "We have to do it," she stated of the wedding. "Mother says so." But when Dani pointed out that Anita would never refer to her as Han, Andre lied, claiming Dani was simply a great Anita Williams fan, and similarly spun when Dani boasted about being in the first row at the Articulates concert. The doppelganger wasn't hesitant to acknowledge she was taking advantage of the show's fame, and the attendant offered to bring in a Vernon double to escort Dani down the aisle for an extra price. Anita asked Andre and the uncertain Dani to speak now or eternally hold their peace. Dani agreed to the ceremony, and Anita went off script, dancing and saying that sometimes the heart recognizes its home long before the brain has a chance to do the paperwork. The mimic had the attendant play an Articulates instrumental, and she sang the vows while Andre and Dani shook along. Dani said abruptly, "We can't get married like this." Dani slurred that they didn't have rings, and Anita took a slug from a flask. Andre dashed out to get them costume jewelry from the casino, and the ceremony resumed, with Dani and Andre drunkenly making asides in addition to the vows. Anita gave up and declared them husband and wife, snapping a selfie with the soused newlyweds in the backdrop. Later, when the new Richardsons staggered and chortled over their newlywed joy, Anita told the attendant that she'd be shocked if they recalled the wedding once they'd sobered up. Andre took Dani into a bridal suite, where they collapsed on the bed. "We really did it," Dani exclaimed. "We got married." They kissed, and Dani attempted to remove her coat. By the time she did, Andre had practically passed out. She nestled next to him and rested her head on his chest as he fell asleep. Eva visited Orphe Jeans to see Martin, who apologized for not communicating with his newfound half-sister. Martin told Eva he'd heard Barbara was Leslie's biological mother. Eva thought that Leslie and Barbara had been treated similarly, with repeated rejection and ostracization. Martin understood Eva's concern for Leslie after she chastised the Duprees for ganging up on her mother, but he reminded Eva that Leslie despised the family because she believed Nicole had stolen Ted from her, despite the fact that Nicole had no idea Leslie existed. Eva understood Martin's point, but when Martin pointed out that Leslie needed to accept that Ted wasn't interested in her, Eva chose to change the issue. June followed Martin and Eva's orders, pleased to meet another member of the family. Eva was astounded to find that June was Samantha and Tyrell's biological mother, and that she had been homeless and a heroin addict. When Eva learned that Martin was taking June to see Nicole, she felt the visit would benefit the recovering woman. Eva smiled, noting that Nicole had a knack of making people feel good about themselves, unlike Kat. Tomás stepped into the diner at that moment. Martin invited his sister's boyfriend to join them, and Eva smiled when Martin mentioned he'd have to go soon. Tomás lied about things being fine between him and Kat, which Eva detected. After Martin had left, Eva inquired as to whether Tomás and Kat were in the same toxic loop, and she was surprised to learn that her bougie princess half-sister had apologized for coming down on Tomás because of his friendship with her. Tomás stated that Kat appeared different and had spoken all he wanted to hear, but they couldn't make love. He was unhappy that Kat had been defensive and claimed that he had labeled her broken rather than their sex life. Eva knew Kat couldn't take criticism and discovered that Kat had blamed Tomás completely for their sexual problems. Tomás answered that Eva couldn't know for certain, but Eva insisted that she simply knew. Tomás glanced back and realized Kat had worked hard to convince them both that she was ready to lose her virginity. Eva advised Tomás not to focus on the sex. Instead, he should show Kat that he cared about her personally. Tomás was amazed that Eva would give such sound advice regarding a sister she had been battling with since they met. When Nicole summoned Nita, she raced to her daughter's residence and was horrified to discover that Ted had slept with Leslie. Anita exclaimed that Ted was a fool, and Nicole blamed herself for not seeing who he truly was. Nicole refuted her mother's claim that Ted went to bed with Leslie in retaliation for the divorce, stating that Ted was simply inebriated. The psychiatrist couldn't reconcile his actions with the love he had expressed for her in front of the family. Anita believed that, as much as it had pained her, Nicole needed the wake-up call because she had been seeking for an excuse to accept Ted back. Nicole understood, admitting that she had positioned Ted as a pillar of integrity from the start. Anita did not want Nicole to blame herself. Nicole promised she was done with Ted and informed Anita that Martin was coming over with June, whom she wanted Anita to meet. Nicole observed an improvement in her complexion when June came. June attributed this to the diner's food, which she described as almost as addictive as those drugs I used to be strung out on. June admitted that she was having difficulty learning the ropes of waitressing. Most customers had been patient, but there were some who made her want to spit in their oxtail stew. When Anita arrived with refreshments, June fangirled over her and said that Anita's music had sometimes been the only thing keeping her from going insane. Nicole was happy that June had reconciled with her sister, Regina. June said that Naomi had given her a cell phone, which she was using to keep up with Samantha's social media. Tyrell, on the other hand, had not accepted June's buddy request. Tyrell needed time to warm up to people, but it was worth the wait, Anita reassured them. Martin said that children should set their own boundaries, making Nicole chuckle because Martin had been the original helicopter parent. June discussed how she would meet with Samantha the next day and how she was concerned that she might say stupid things. Nicole explained that Samantha and Tyrell only needed to know how important they were to June. Anita told June that the family appreciated her and wanted her to succeed, which made her happy. Haley welcomed Caroline to the Hamilton residence, telling her friend that Bill had discovered her idea to use Tomás to make him jealous, but that the Dani situation was very much over. When Bill returned home, Haley crooned that she was beginning to suspect that his daughters had kidnapped him. Haley was expecting to ramp up the volume, now that Bill was present and accounted for, so she dressed in racy lingerie to attract him.